Assalamu alaikum, I pray you're all well. One of my favorite quotes is by Sheikh Nassim al Hakani, and it says, "Aim to be enlightened before death, for it is only light that you can take with you." I had this quote on my Insta bio for many, many years. And the reason I had it on there is because it really sums up the purpose of my life and the purpose of your life as well. And when Sheikh Nassim tells us that all we can take with us is light, then of course we need to understand what is light. What does that actually mean in practice? How can I take it with me after death, right? And that is what I want to discuss today. In the spiritual path, especially within the Sufi tradition, light is both a metaphor and a reality. It is not just illumination. When we think of someone being enlightened, we might have certain ideas of what it means to be enlightened. Perhaps we imagine a person being very wise, perfect, sinless, or like a saint, a wali, or whatever the case might be, that we imagine someone being enlightened. And often we we might actually think that, oh no, that's just too hard. Like, there's no way I can be enlightened. There's no way I can achieve that, right? But the reality is very different. The reality is we are built to be enlightened. We are built to shine the divine light through us, through our body, through our life, through our experiences. And that is the whole purpose of Islam and the Sufi path. When we talk about the light, we're talking about divine presence. We're talking about awareness. We're talking about truth and healing. Allah tells us in the Quran, this is in Surah al-Nur, if you look between verses 35 through 40, you will see how Allah is giving an explanation of what the light is. And He begins by telling us that Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. And this ayah, this verse, is central to the teachings of Islam, and of course to our spiritual path, because this tells us that Allah is not just a source of light. He is the light, and every time, we get a glimmer of clarity, healing, guidance, and love in our lives, this comes from that light. And the explanation continues with a famous metaphor Allah is giving us that says, Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth, and the example of his light is like a niche, within which is a lamp. The lamp is in glass. The glass is like a shining star, lit from a blessed olive tree, neither from the east nor of the west, whose oil would almost glow even if untouched by fire. Light upon light. Nur ala Nur. I think most of us have heard that bit. Allah guides to his light whom he wills. Now, personally, it took me many, many years to understand this ayah. I remember trying to understand. I remember reading it and reading the tafsir and everything, but you know how it is, guys. Like, on this path, we can only understand things based on our current level of awareness and understanding, and again, it all goes by levels, right? Now, of course, I'm not claiming that I know everything about this ayah, but I'm gonna tell you so far what I have discovered. And this ayah is very mystical, it's very poetic, it holds a lot of key to our spiritual path, and it teaches us how the light is protected, first of all. the light is protected. That's why Allah is giving the analogy, the example of a lamp in a niche. A niche is like a space that it's a space that holds something. And this niche represents the protected space, which can be interpreted as our heart, the heart of the human being. That could be the niche. Now, the place, this place is what receives and holds the light when we turn toward Allah, toward the divine. So, again, all the light and darkness lives in that space, the heart space. When Allah talks about the glass, again, if we picture the heart and all the teachings of Sufism, we know that we are always invited to polish and purify our hearts. I mean, that is the path of Tazkiyah, we know. The idea is that we need to clean our hearts. And what that means is that we clear them from being controlled by our ego, by our pride, by trauma, by self doubt, insecurities, jealousy, all of that. All of that we know that keeps us stuck in a version of ourselves that is not enlightened. And again, by enlightened, we simply mean choosing divine presence whenever possible. And I'll get more into that as I go a bit later here. But for now, what I want to say is that the reason why Allah says that lamp becomes like a shining star, transparent and luminous, is because that's what the heart can become. Remember, just again, picture a glass, right? Just a transparent glass. The more dust, the more you don't clean it, the less transparent it's gonna be, right? So that's our hearts as well. When Allah tells us that such lamp is fueled by the oil of the olive tree, well, the olive tree is said to be symbolic of spiritual knowledge and divine revelation. And what this can mean is that the soul already contains the potential for light. All of us have a fitra, as we know, which is the natural inclination towards doing good, towards seeking Allah, towards seeking something greater than ourselves, greater than anything we can perceive in this world. That is a fitra. So all of us, every human being has that. And the reason why a lot of people don't know their light or don't connect to their light, or we ourselves can be in darkness for certain periods of our lives, is because we, of course, have not understood the capacity we have as human beings to be vessels of divine light. We keep submerged in all of this narrative that shaitan and people have built, and by people I mean, of course, people that live from their ego, where the narrative is, no, I'm just a human being. I am, that's why I sin. I'm not perfect, and that's it. That's all I was born to be. And there is really very few people that acknowledge the capacity Allah gives us to become vessels of His light. And what that means is that when we heal our wounds, and again, by spiritual wounds, we mean a lot of things, but each of you already know what things are preventing you or stopping you from doing more in your lives, or maybe the effects of trauma that you are currently facing. And the idea, as we know, is to walk from those moments of darkness we are in, which are normal because that's a human experience. We need to walk away. We need to really decide. First of all, decide, make a choice, make a decision. Do I want to live in darkness, or do I want to live in light? And this choice is something we take moment by moment. This is not a choice we take just once, not just now, not just one time a day. At every given moment, we're given a choice of acting from darkness or from light. Other words that are the same would be from fear or from love. Fear is darkness, love is light. And once we do this, we start really seeing what it means to, we start not only seeing, we start to feel that yakin, that certainty in our heart to believe that, okay, yeah, I am a vessel of light. Allah created me to contribute to this world, to shine His light through me, through my actions, through what I do, through what I say. And we know, for example, Maulana Rumi tells us that the wound is a place where the light enters you. And that is the purpose of our wounds, that through the wounds, it's how we open this gate towards understanding how we can hold that light in our heart and shine it through our everyday actions. So, in Sufism, in the Sufi path, we don't reject our spiritual wounds. We don't deny them. We don't avoid them. We alchemize our wounds. And what does alchemize mean? It just simply means to transform them. To use any of our wounds, and again, this could be anything from feeling jealousy to feeling envy to feeling lack of self-worth to feeling like, we're useless, we cannot do anything, or it could be depression, could be anything, right? Anything that is not allowing us to feel content and joyful inside. We take that wound and we alchemize it, we transform it. And of course, to transform the wound is not a one-time exercise. It can be done through so many different tools. The ones I usually speak of course, we know dhikr, tafakkur, reflection, or prayer, service to others, and all the things you already know are good for you and good for our soul. Having discipline, having emotional intelligence, learning those skills that help us understand the world in a clearer way. That's how we start this process of clearing our heart to become a vessel of divine light. So, when I talk about the light, I'm talking about that part of you that comes from Allah, of course. The part that knows, the part that sees, your intuition, your divine guidance. Inshallah, what I'm trying to do is help you connect to that part of yourself that already has the answers because it's already connected to divine guidance. And I know a lot of you are in this transition where there is confusion, there is turmoil, there is not clear direction. And again, that is normal. And all you can do right now is take it moment by moment. This is what I did for many years and still do. Take it day by day, moment by moment. The more we fixate in the future, the more anxiety and the more doubt we're gonna feel, because we're not built to address the future. As I often say, it is in the present moment, that we find the answers we need. And it really is about pausing before we think, identifying our thought patterns, because those are big. Our thought patterns, our inner beliefs about ourselves and about the world, are basically what drives everything we do and everything we experience. So let me give you a clear example here. Let's say someone feels jealousy. Let's say they are married and this person starts thinking maybe their spouse is cheating, or maybe their spouse is chatting with other people, or the shaitan whispers to them, and they're already thinking, oh, why my wife or my husband is doing this, why aren't they doing this? And they didn't stop, meaning they didn't pause this process. They kept carrying on with the whispers from shaitan. So when shaitan said, oh, what if your wife or what if your husband is chatting with this person, or maybe they love someone, maybe they have someone else. At that point, this person didn't pause and continue listening to shaitan and to their ego, because remember, we have two forces here that are in constant battle with our light. So of course, shaitan, as we know, is always gonna whisper. But please remember, shaitan can never do more than that. Shaitan, all it does is whisper. He's never gonna make us do something. That is our ego. That's why the importance of clearing our ego, because when shaitan whispers, if we haven't trained our ego, then we just easily do whatever the whisper is suggesting. Once we're training our ego, and once we become aware, okay, this is a whisper and this is my ego, and I'm gonna do differently. I'm gonna do something that connects me to the light instead of more darkness. So again, going back to this example, let's say shaitan is already whispering to this person, and what this person does is, instead of pausing to we listen, and then we try to connect to the light by seeking, of course, refuge in Allah. But instead of doing that, this person wants to spy, decides to spy on the phone of their spouse, maybe their computer. They want to start controlling them, and they end up invading their privacy in UK, but privacy in US. So let's say they start doing these behaviors, right? They start becoming obsessive and observing the every move of the spouse, and again, they just check their phone whenever they can and things like this, right? When a person does this, we can clearly see they're acting from fear, and this is darkness in itself, right? We know that. Why is it darkness? Because the person who's going through this is not feeling joy, is not feeling bliss, is not feeling peace, is not feeling connected to divine light. I mean, we know that when we go through these experiences or emotions, we're suffering because we're already in fear. What if my spouse leaves me? What if my spouse loves someone else? What if they cheat on me? What if this? What if that? And again, this is just a general example, but you can apply it in any other circumstance you face. So that's what I was saying. Pausing is very important as soon as we hear the whisper. Because again, shaitan will only whisper something like, Oh, what if your spouse is cheating on you? That's gonna be the whisper, right? And then it is our ego, when it's unhealed, when it's untamed, the one that's gonna keep filling the blanks. So then the ego is gonna be like, oh yeah, he didn't hug me today, or she didn't hug me today, or he or she did this and they usually don't do this, and that's the ego. And then the more we keep fueling this state, the more we sink in darkness. And then, a lot of things can happen from there. But instead of doing this, we pause, we take a deep breath. And in this pause is very sacred, brothers and sisters. When we pause after the whisper of shaitan, this is a very sacred moment, because it is in this pause that we're deciding to live from fear or from light. I mean, fear or love, or darkness and light. It is in that pause that we make that decision. We can take a deep breath, and when we inhale, we understand that we're inhaling divine guidance, because Allah is right there with us as we're about to make that decision of which path we want to take. And if you want to talk to your ego, you can do so. For example, sometimes I do, like, I tell my ego, you know what? I cannot control anyone's behavior. So I'm going to seek refuge in Allah. And then I move on to speak to Allah. And I say something like, Allah, please protect me, guide me, and grant me the strength to act in ways that are pleasing to you. And please release this urge I have to do whatever action that is not from light. And at that moment, you'll see the magic. You'll see the light shining through. I'm not saying it's going to be easy at first, but the more you practice to pause, and the more you practice to understand that it is in your hands to act from fear or from love, from darkness or from light, you will choose, inshallah, the right path. But again, of course, this requires practice. We cannot dwell in guilt if we chose the path that is not good for us or others. All we need to do is keep trying, right? We need to keep trying. We need to keep remembering the capacity we have to be a vessel of light. And once again, remember, we're not seeking perfection. We are seeking to embody the light that we have within already, and that it needs to shine through in as many opportunities as we possibly can do within this life to fulfill our purpose and to help others do as well. So again, even if we start by choosing fear 4 times out of 5 times, please do celebrate that one time you didn't choose to behave from fear. Next time might be 2 out of 5 times, maybe then 3 out of 5, then 4 out of 4. Maybe it's one day, mashallah, we did great. Next 3 days, we won't do as great. And that's the path. The path is to fall and keep getting back up, because the more we do this, the more we realize how to choose light over darkness. And again, it's not about perfection, it's about practice and connecting to Allah in those moments where we have a choice. I want to talk about the term light worker, because some of you have asked me. The term light worker is nowadays used in certain new age communities, certain spiritual communities, of course not Islamic, but that doesn't mean this term is not in Islam. And a light worker is usually defined as a person who feels called to bring healing, compassion, and awareness to the world. They have been given certain tasks by Allah to raise the consciousness of humanity and to help others through emotional, spiritual, or energetic support. They often feel guided by their intuition, by love, and a higher calling. Light workers are usually seen as people who hold the light, and I will explain how this verse in particular refers to that concept. So, light workers hold the light in dark times, and they are people who help others awaken, heal, and grow spiritually. So, this concept in itself exists, of course, in Islam. The exact word light worker, no, but it's the same concept. We can call people like this al-Nur, people of light. And of course, Allah has put people of light everywhere in this world. Doesn't matter in what communities or what religions. People like this exist because, remember, everyone has a fitra, everyone has a choice to choose light versus darkness. No matter what their religion is, no matter where they are in the world, everyone has a choice. So, people who are from Ahl al-Nur or light workers or people who have become aware of their capacity to be a vessel of light are people who are working what's the word people who are working on a daily basis intentionally. That's the word I was looking for. They're working intentionally to purify their ego and to walk in remembrance of Allah. They're also working to reflect the divine attributes of Allah. So when we think about the 99 names of Allah, we need to remember that all of those, they're attributes, first of all. And those attributes are meant to be reflected in human beings. So let's say, for example, a person who is very compassionate, or a person who is very just, or very merciful. They're taking from the divine attributes and reflecting them. Because again, if they're working on this, they are becoming a vessel, right? It's not from them anymore, obviously. It is all from Allah. And people who are from Ahl al-Nur, they also try their best to bring peace, clarity, and healing wherever they go. These people, brothers and sisters, they really don't have to be any famous, they don't have to be scholars, they don't have to be mystics. It really can be ordinary people, people who live with sincere presence and awareness of Allah. And these are the people who are vessels of divine light. And Allah is telling us about them on this verse, on this ayah. Allah is asking us, is one who was dead, then we gave him life and made for him a light by which to walk among the people, like one who is in darkness and never comes out of it? So Allah is asking us this. Are these two people the same? This ayah beautifully captures the light worker archetype, the light worker concept, or Ahl al-Nur, people of the light. Because these are people who were once dead, and by dead we mean spiritually asleep, in darkness, being a slave to their ego constantly. This is people who were once dead, and that's why Allah says in this ayah that Allah gave life to them, and by giving life to them, they gave them a light, and they live among people through this light, like they shine the light as they are among people. So Allah is letting us know that there are people amongst us, and perhaps again you are being called to be among these people who carry light for others as you live in this world, if you, of course, resonate with what I'm saying. And this is a very sacred duty. And of course, again, it's not easy to tame our ego and believe that we can get out of darkness, but it is absolutely possible. And if this is your calling, then Allah will, without a doubt, will keep guiding you and helping you achieve what you need to achieve in this world. So these people, brothers and sisters, they help others reconnect with the divine, confront their darkness, and return to peace. The tools they use are not always words. It really could be anything. It could be their silence, their love, their compassion, or just being a mirror for others, for their wounds. And inshallah, may Allah awaken all of us to our capacity to reflect His divine light. And thank you for making it this far. I'm praying for you, and inshallah, you also keep me in your prayers. May Allah bless you.